University Challenge. Asking the questions, Jeremy Paxman.
Hello, 28 teams have qualified for this series and another 2 are about to show us what they're made of. There's a place in the second round for the winners and the losers could play again too if they're among the 4 highest scoring losing teams. Now, Magdalene College, Cambridge have watched their namesake at Oxford become the first institution to win the series championship 3 times, so graciously decided to get out of bed themselves. The college dates back to a hostel established in 1428 by Henry VI for Benedictine monks, set north of the River Cam so the monks could avoid the lustful temptations of Cambridge town centre. Electricity has yet to find its way to some of the college's 15th and 16th century buildings, where students still dine formally by candlelight, so don't be surprised if they seem to be blinking throughout tonight. Let's meet the team.
Hello, my name is Robin Inglis. I'm from London and I'm studying archaeology and anthropology.
Hi, I'm Peter Mann. I'm from Edinburgh and I'm doing a PhD in physics.
And their captain?
Hi, I'm Mike Finn. I'm from Liverpool and I'm studying for a PhD in history.
Hello, I'm Liz Dignan from Hornchurch in Essex and I'm reading for an MPhil in educational research.
Now, Sheffield University, in contrast, is described by its team as modern, red brick, forward-looking, with something of a left-wing bias. Founded in the 19th century from 3 local institutions which aimed to improve the education of the men involved in Sheffield's major industries, it became a university in 1905 and now has around 20,000 students. It also has what's reputedly the highest turnover in any student union bar in the country. Let's meet them.
Hi, my name's Anthony Thomason from Warrington, studying social and political studies.
Hi, I'm Helen Halliburton from Shirley in the West Midlands and I'm studying dentistry.
And their captain?
Hi, I'm Graham Gaff from East Building in Tyne-and-Wear and I'm studying biological chemistry.
Karen Jones from Sheffield, reading Hispanic Studies.
OK, you all know the rules. I just remind you there's a 5-point fine for incorrect interruptions to start a question, so fingers on the buzzers. Here's your first starter for 10. Whose activities during the 1830s included conducting a liaison with Henrietta, wife of Sir Francis Sykes, writing the novels The Young Duke and Contarini Fleming, and making 5 attempts at becoming an MP, finally succeeding as the Conservative member for Maidstone in 1837?
Sheffield Jones.
Benjamin Disraeli.
Correct. OK, your bonuses are on an endangered species. Firstly, for 5. Which archipelago was discovered in 1535 by the Spanish navigator Tomás de Bertanga and was given a name which is the Spanish for tortoises in reference to an indigenous and now endangered animal?
Galapagos.
Yes, you don't need to buzz, you can just confer and tell me.
Galapagos Islands.
Correct. As well as the Galapagos Islands, giant land tortoises are also found on the Aldabra archipelago, which lies in the Indian Ocean to the north of Madagascar and is now part of which country?
India.
Mauritius.
No, it's the Seychelles. What personal name has been given to the giant land tortoise which is believed to be in the unenviable position of being the last surviving male of his Abingdoni subspecies?
George.
Yes, specifically...
George III.
George III.
No, he's Lonesome George, understandably. Right, another starter question. Monsanto, the company perhaps best known today for its work on GM foods, first came to prominence in 1903 when it began to manufacture which sugar substitute, selling its entire production to the Coca-Cola company?
Sheffield Gaff.
NutraSweet.
No, anyone to buzz from Magdalene?
Magdalene Dignan.
Saccharin.
Saccharin is correct. So your first set of bonuses, Magdalene, are on the Bloomsbury Group. Firstly, for 5 points, which art historian and critic championed various modern artists, particularly Cézanne, and organised the first London exhibition of post-impressionists in 1910. In 1913, he founded the Omega Workshop in association with other group members, including Vanessa Bell.
Garnett.
Duncan Garnett.
No, it wasn't Duncan Grant. He was involved in the Omega workshop, but the person I'm looking for is Roger Fry. Secondly, for 5, which member of the Bloomsbury Group married the dancer Lydia Lopakova, played a major role in the formulation of the Bretton Woods agreements and the establishment of the IMF, and died in 1946?
John Maynard Keynes.
Correct. Published in the 1960s, Sowing, Growing and Beginning Again were the first 3 autobiographical volumes of which member of the Bloomsbury Group?
Vanessa Bell.
No, it was Leonard Woolf. Another starter question. The otherworldly fights don't entirely mesh with the emotional depth and maturity at the film's core, was one critical opinion, and a bareback horse ride waltz through beauty was another, of which film directed by Ang Lee?
Sheffield Gaff.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Indeed it was. You get bonuses on quotations about Australia. Australia has a marvellous sky and air and blue clarity and a hoary sort of land beneath it, like a sleeping princess on which the dust of ages has settled. These are the words of which British author, a visitor to Australia in 1922, during which time he wrote the novel Kangaroo?
D.H. Lawrence.
Correct. The novelist Thomas Keneally compared Australia to which belief system, saying, quote, "The company is sometimes questionable and the landscape is grotesque, but you always come back."
Catholicism.
Correct. Australia is a huge rest home where no unwelcome news is ever wafted onto the pages of the worst newspapers in the world, according to which feminist writer and academic born Melbourne, 1939.
Jermaine Greer.
Correct. We're going to take our first picture round now. For your picture starter, you're going to see an emoticon. In other words, a combination of keyboard characters used to create an image for use in electronic communication. According to Schott's original miscellany, which American historical figure is represented by this emoticon?
Sheffield Halliburton.
Lincoln.
It is Abraham Lincoln, yes. So your bonuses, Sheffield, are 3 more emoticons as defined by Schott's original miscellany. 5 points for each one you can work out. Firstly, who's this?
Sorry, no idea.
That's Father Christmas. It's obvious, isn't it? Secondly, for 5 points.
Elvis.
It is Elvis Presley, yes. And finally, who's this?
The Pope.
It is the Pope. I don't know how you got that, but it is, yes. Doesn't look at all like him. Right, 10 points for this. Which term describes the deformation of an object in which parallel planes remain parallel but are displaced relative to one another in a...
Magdalene Man.
Shear.
Shear is right. Well done. OK, Magdalene, your bonuses are on mathematics. Firstly, for 5, the square root of 10 and 256 over 81 are both approximations of what constant?
E.
E.
No, it's pi, meaning that it cannot be a solution to any algebraic equation. Ferdinand Lindemann proved in 1882 that pi is what?
Irrational.
No, it's transcendental. Concerning a mathematical genius whose knowledge is sought by both an Hasidic Kabbalistic cult and a high-powered Wall Street firm, Pi is a cult film of 1998 by which director? No idea?
No.
It was by Darren Aronofsky. Another starter question. What name is that of a former theatre in Clerkenwell built in the early 17th century and notorious for the extremely rowdy and vulgar behaviour of its clientele? It's also the proprietary name for a beverage currently in vogue among young people, which is believed to have a stimulating effect.
Sheffield Gaff.
Red Bull.
Red Bull is right, yes. Sorry for sounding like Queen Victoria. Your bonuses are on a name. What surname is shared by John, a statistical pioneer born in 1771, Thomas, the author of the 1817 Styles of Architecture, and Alan, an actor and director noted for performances such as Colonel Brandon in the 1990 film version of Sense and Sensibility?
Hardy.
No, it's Rickman. John Rickman was noted for his reports on the first 4 British censuses from 1801 and was a force behind which act of 1836, a major advance in the gathering of data?
Census Act.
No, it was the Civil Registration Act. And finally, an intellectual founder of the Gothic revival, Thomas Rickman, subdivided medieval Gothic architecture into early English, decorated, and which other period?
Perpendicular.
Perpendicular is right. Another starter question, 10 points for this. Which term refers to the Danish peninsula and is used for the battle fought in the North Sea?
Sheffield Gaff.
Jutland.
Jutland is correct. Your bonuses are on particle physics. Firstly, for 5 points, what name was given to the first type of proton accelerator developed in 1932, which achieved the first artificially induced nuclear reaction by bombarding lithium with protons to produce helium?
Proton gun.
Fermi reactor.
No, it's the Cockcroft-Walton accelerator or generator. What type of electrostatic generator consists of a large metal dome-shaped terminal mounted on a hollow insulating support containing an endless insulating belt? Larger examples power linear accelerators, while smaller versions can be used to make children's hair stand on end.
Van de Graaff generator.
Correct. Developed by W.D. Kepst in 1939, name the type of particle accelerator capable of producing high-energy electrons of the order of 340 megavolts using electromagnetic induction in a toroidal ring from which the air has been removed.
Accelerator.
Vacuum accelerator.
No, that's a Betatron accelerator. Another starter question, described by Charles Farrar Brown in a lecture under the pseudonym Artemis Ward as dreadfully married, the most married man I ever saw in my life, which Vermont-born preacher died in 1877, leaving 17 wives and 56 children, having in 1844 succeeded...
Sheffield Halliburton.
Brigham Young.
Brigham Young is correct. Your bonuses are on a musical genre. Firstly, for 5, a combination of good ideas dried up by fads, terrible junk, hideous failings in taste and judgment, gullibility and manipulation, moments of unbelievable clarity and invention, pleasure, fun, vulgarity, excess, novelty and utter innovation. What musical form was described thus by Marcus Greal in 1976?
Punk.
No, it was rock and roll. Quote, rock and roll doesn't necessarily mean a band, it doesn't mean a singer, and it doesn't mean a lyric. Really, it's that question of trying to be immortal. Those are the words of which British music impresario speaking in 1988?
George Martin.
No, it was Malcolm McLaren. Quote, people see me and they see the suit and they go, you're not fooling anyone. They know I'm rock and roll through and through. Which fictional television character described himself thus in a programme first broadcast in 2002?
David Brent.
David Brent in The Office is right. 10 points at stake for this starter question. Permitting growth in size and change in body form, ecdysis is a characteristic of animals of the phylum Arthropoda and refers to what phenomenon?
Sheffield Gaff.
Shedding of skin.
Molting is correct, yes. Your bonuses are on US President Sheffield, the son of a Missouri farmer. Which senator was chosen by Franklin D. Roosevelt as his running mate for the 1944 presidential election, becoming vice president early in 1945? Come on.
Truman.
It was Truman. The Truman Doctrine was announced in March 1947 and provided immediate economic and military aid for 2 countries threatened by communist pressures. Name either of them.
Poland.
No, it was Greece and Turkey. When Truman stood for re-election as president in 1948, opinion polls confidently but wrongly predicted that he would lose to which popular Republican governor of New York?
LaGuardia.
No, it was Thomas E. Dewey. Right, we're going to take a music round now. Your music starter is an excerpt from a piece of classical music for 10 points. I want the name of the composer and the title of the entire work from which it's taken.
Sheffield Halliburton.
William Walton Coronation March.
No, it's not. Morden, you can hear a bit more. You may not confer.
Magdalene Mann.
Is it Handel's Wedding March? Or something?
No, it's not. It's Mendelssohn. It's from A Midsummer Night's Dream. So music bonus is coming up when someone gets a starter question right. 10 points at stake for this. The Arch of Constantine in Rome was the model for which monument by John Nash erected in front of Buckingham Palace in 1826?
Magdalene Dignan.
Marble Arch.
Marble Arch is right, yes. Later moved to the northeast corner of Hyde Park, so you get the music bonuses. Following on from Mendelssohn's Wedding March, you're going to hear 3 more marches for your bonuses. Each case, I would like the name of the composer. Come on.
Bach.
No, that's Mozart's March in D major. Secondly, for 5 points, the composer of this.
Sibelius.
No, that was Tchaikovsky's No. 1 March from the Sleeping Beauty. And finally...
Grieg.
No, that was Johann Strauss's Persian March, on which lamentable note we'll move on to another starter question. Quote, persons attempting to find a motive in this narrative will be prosecuted, persons attempting to find a moral in it will be banished, persons attempting to find a plot in it will be shot. This advice appeared in the introduction to which novel of 1884? No, it's the...
Sheffield Jones.
Tristram Shandy.
Gosh, no. Magdalene? No? It was The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Another starter question. In an opera by Verdi, which heroine sings the aria known as the Willow Song about a rejected woman shortly before she's murdered by her husband?
Magdalene Mann.
Tosca.
No. Anyone want to buzz from Sheffield?
Sheffield Thomason.
La Traviata.
No, it's not. It's Desdemona in Othello. Another starter question. Glamorgan, Yorkshire, Oxford, Cambridge and Cumberland have all given their names to a variety of what food?
Sheffield Thomason.
Sausage.
Well done, yes. Your bonuses are on computing. Which girl's name originally provided the acronym for a wide area network connecting universities and other academic institutions?
Wendy.
That was Janet, Joint Academic Network. Which girl's name is also that of a gemstone and was chosen by Yukihiro Matsumoto for the programming language he created to suggest that it is a jewel of a language?
Pearl.
No, it's Ruby. Described by her creators as 28 years old, 5'8" tall, with a pleasant, quietly intelligent manner, what name is that of a character claimed to be the world's first virtual newscaster and is also given to the web-oriented news service she fronts?
Anna Nova.
That is correct. Right, another starter question. Which evangelist was born at Antioch in Syria and has sometimes been identified as the beloved physician who accompanied Paul on his journeys to Rome and Philippi?
Sheffield Halliburton.
Luke.
Luke is correct, yes. Your questions are on photographers. Firstly, for 5. Which chronicler of the streets of Paris had been an industrial photographer for Renault before being fired for chronic lateness? Among his best-known images is Le Baiser de l'Hôtel de Ville, showing a couple kissing while walking along the pavement. He died in 1994.
Sorry, don't know.
That was Robert Duano. Secondly, for 5, which photographer born in Luxembourg organised the 1955 exhibit entitled The Family of Man? It opened in New York and travelled to 37 countries, becoming the most popular exhibit in the history of photography.
Henry. Just say
Henry.
That was Edward Steichen. And thirdly, the photographer born André Friedman in Budapest in 1913 adopted what pseudonym, allowing him to represent himself as a rich American who would only sell his work at inflated prices. He retained the name after the deception was discovered, and he was killed by a landmine in Vietnam in 1954.
Sorry, don't know.
That was Robert Capa, another starter question. Formerly called Old Bethlehem, which London thoroughfare runs between Bishopsgate and Blomfield Street, was renamed in honour of a 19th century Prime Minister and in 1875 became the location of a station built as a terminus of the Great Eastern...
Magdalene Dignan.
Liverpool Street.
Liverpool Street is right. So you've still just about got time to catch up. Your bonuses are on the plots of James Bond films. In each case, identify the film from the plot synopsis. Firstly, for 5. Chasing forged Russian jewels takes James Bond to India, where he teams up with an unusually acrobatic female army. Come on, there's not time to hang around.
From Russia with Love.
No, that's Octopussy. Attempting to hold the West to ransom for a pardon for previous crimes and a recognition of his claim to the title of Comte de Bleuchamp, Blofeld plans to use a virus to induce permanent sterility in certain plants and animals.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Correct. Bond links up with a Chinese intelligence agent to foil a maniacal plot by a media mogul to start World War III.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Correct. Right, we're going to take our second picture round now. For your picture starter, you're going to see a photograph of a bat. 10 points if you can tell me the species.
Sheffield Halliburton.
A fruit bat.
It is a fruit bat, yes. Now, for your picture bonuses, 3 more bats. In each case, I want you to tell me the species. Here's the first.
Vampire bat.
No, that's a moustached bat. Here's the next.
That might be a vampire bat.
That is a vampire bat. And finally, for 5 more points. You don't need to buzz, just tell us.
Horseshoe bat.
Pipistrelle.
No, that's a brown bat. Another starter question. Of whom was W.B. Yeats writing in a poem which demands that, quote, some amends be made to this most gallant gentleman that is in quicklime laid? The man in question was hanged for treason in Pentonville Prison in 1916.
Magdalene Finn.
Roger Casement.
Correct. Here are your bonuses. They're on the River Rhine. Firstly, for 5, the Neckar River flows through Stuttgart and passes Heidelberg before entering the Rhine at which city? It's one of Europe's largest inland ports and was the site of Carl Benz's first production of his 2-stroke engine. Come on.
Hamburg.
No, it's Mannheim. The Moselle River empties into the Rhine at Koblenz, having risen in which mountains of eastern France?
Massif Central.
That's the Vosges, and thirdly, rising in North Rhine-Westphalia and flowing almost 150 miles through a major industrial region. Which river joins the Rhine near Duisburg? Quickly.
The Rhone.
No, it's the Ruhr. Only 4 minutes to go. Another starter question. Philippa of Hainault was married in 1328 at the age of 15 to which future monarch? No, I'll tell you it was Edward III. Another starter question. In March 2004, which Durham pace bowler took 7...
Sheffield Gaff.
Steve Harmison.
Steve Harmison is right. Your bonuses are on poetry. I'm going to read the closing line or lines of a poem written in the early 20th century. For 5 points each, I want the name of the poet who wrote it. Firstly, A Terrible Beauty is Born.
T.S. Eliot.
T.S. Eliot.
No, it's W.B. Yeats from Easter 1916. He's a cheery old card granted Harry to Jack as they slogged up to Arras with rifle and pack, but he did for them both by his plan of attack.
Tennyson.
No, that was Siegfried Sassoon. And finally, Shanty, Shanty, Shanty. Come on.
No idea.
That's the end of Eliot's Wasteland. 3 minutes to go. Another starter question. In the criminal justice system, for what do the letters TIC stand? No, they stand for taken into consideration. And another starter question. In addition to being a grand duchy, Luxembourg is also the name of a province in which country?
Sheffield Halliburton.
Germany.
No, anyone want to buzz from Magdalene? Quickly.
Magdalene Inglis.
The Netherlands?
No, it's Belgium. Another starter question. Nosocomial infections are those acquired from which source? They're from hospitals. Another starter question. The word preterite, used for verb forms in Romance and other languages, corresponds to which tense in English?
Sheffield Jones.
Past.
The past is correct. The past simple. Your bonus is Sheffield are on helicopters. Firstly, for 5, directed by Ridley Scott, which film of 2001 is based on the disastrous battle in Somalia in 1993, in which over 100 US Army Rangers were dropped by helicopter into Mogadishu?
Black Hawk Down.
Correct. The American presidential helicopter are a version on the standard Sikorsky Black Hawk and are known by what call sign when the president's aboard?
Air Force 2.
No, they're Marine 1. As a helicopter's main rotor spins in one direction, it creates a force that pushes against the craft in the opposite direction. What is this twisting force called?
Lift.
No, it's called torque. Another starter question. The words Jebel in Arabic, Shan in Chinese, and Oros in Greek all referred to what geographical feature?
Magdalene Mann.
Mountain.
Mountain is right. Here are your bonuses. They're on a household object. 5 for this. Outside of the chair, it is the most ubiquitous and important design element in the domestic environment, and almost everyone who has tackled the world of design has ended up designing one. Which kitchen utensil is the art curator David McFadden describing here? Quickly.
Spoon.
No, it's a teapot. The teapot dome scandal of the 1920s resulted in the imprisonment of the US Secretary for the Interior and involved misappropriation of which natural resource from the US Navy Department? Come on.
Oil.
Oil is right. A teapot house is home to which animated character created by William Joyce and described as a simple robotic every boy, a straightforward freight train of optimistic activity? No idea?
No idea.
Roly-poly-oly, another starter question. Which gas is the major constituent of the atmospheres of both Mars and Venus?
Sheffield gas.
Carbon dioxide.
Correct. Your bonuses are on cell biology. What name is given to the process in which components resulting in cell disruption are separated by centrifugation? Come on.
Sorry, I don't know.
It's cell fractionation. Secondly, for 5, what name is given to the technique of centrifugation which separates large cell components into a pellet, leaving behind a supernatant? And at the gong, Magdalene College, Cambridge have 80, Sheffield have 195. Well, bad luck, Magdalene. You never really got the chance to get going and show us what you were really made of, so we're going to have to say goodbye to you, I'm afraid. Sheffield 195 is a very respectable, good score, in fact, and see you in the second round. I hope you can join us next time for another first-round match. But until then, it's goodbye from Magdalene College, Cambridge.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Sheffield University.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.
Keep your brain ticking over tonight with Mind Games over on BBC 4 now.